ora koutou and no mai haere mai to showy ovaries. And yes, regular listeners, do not die of shock. 2 episodes quite close together. And another coming soon with my live Showy Ovaries podcast record at WOMAD in New Plymouth on Friday, March 14th in the Kunming Garden at 7 o'clock with the star of The White Lotus and Housebound, Morgana O'Reilly. And now, some shows to remind you of. Austin Found at Q Theatre on March 27th to 28th. Olive Copperbottom, my Dickens show in the Stratford Shakespeare Festival on April 4th due to the 30 seconds of A Midsummer Night's Dream that's in it. Then The Tempestuous in New Plymouth at the Little Theatre on May 16th to 18th. And then for the first time since 2020, I am off overseas, performing Promise and Promiscuity in Hobart, Melbourne, Newcastle, Sydney and Canberra. And then Canadians, I'm doing the Tempestuous in Saskatoon and then the Winnipeg Fringe. And then the Camden Fringe in London and one show in the Lake District, which is all very mental. But enough of me. Thank you very much. Enough of me. Today is all about our fabulous guest who has made the trip to my whare. I will say more in my longer introduction, but she is a fabulous actor, even winning Actor of the Year at the recent Wellington Theatre Awards for her roles in the Circa Panto, plus my adaptation of Sense and Sensibility, where she played 2 of 3 of the romantic leads, including a very suave Willoughby that confused men's and women's sexualities everywhere. She is one of the stars of Go Girls, is a voiceover maven, a stage stalwart, especially in Wellington, despite living in Auckland. She is of Ngāti Porou heritage, a goddamn national treasure, and witness to my sometimes excruciating and exhausting period of personal growth, directing said Sense and Sensibility. So please slap those fallopian tubes together for the one and only Bronwyn Turei.
Oh, what an intro.
Oh, it gets better for your next one. It's much longer. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good. Have you been having a nice break since the panto finished?
Yes, yeah, lots of family time, lots of time at home with the toddler and who has now started kindy.
Oh, right.
And
did you cry?
Yes. Me and her dad shed a few tears.
Aww.
We were both, she was very ready for it. She was like, are you guys still here? See you later.
Right. Yeah.
She's loving it.
I mean, she's been so socialised because of all the theatre rehearsals she's been in.
Yeah, and it really shows. She's very comfortable in new spaces and either playing by herself or getting amongst. She's really social, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to talk about this later, but we've broached on this now because regular listeners will know I'm about as maternal as the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Hey, you hugged Tiakiwai though. You got a good cuddle out of her.
She's bloody cute. She's so cute with her blonde hair and blue eyes, with her Samoan and Māori heritage. Were you surprised by that?
A little bit, yeah, because 2 brown-eyed people don't usually, it's like a really low percentage of that you would have a blue-eyed baby, but we both have a lot of Irish, Scottish heritage on both of our sides, so that just came in hot.
Yeah, she was very cute. And it was very, again, said personal growth. Because Bronwyn emailed me to say, Tiakiwai's coming to rehearsals. And I was like, what? It really, really was. But then I was like, well, Bronwyn is marvellous. And we want Bronwyn in our show. And I'm a feminist. And as such, we have to make space for ladies to have children. Otherwise, the human race grinds to a halt. So, yeah, I was like, lady up. And, yeah, it was challenging. You know, and sometimes she would kick off. But she was loving it. Because what was her little mantra? What did she say about coming to rehearsal?
Go mahi, see friends, have fun.
Which is, for the overseas listeners, mahi is work. So go to work, see the friends and have fun. And that was the Sense and Sensibility rehearsal space.
Yeah, and that was our chant every night before we went on stage.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so cute. And you ended up cross-stitched on things, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and little things that she did made it into the show. Like when everybody was gathering around Mr. Dashwood's dying deathbed and looking very sad, and she just ran up and put her hand on his leg and went, you know, like, is he okay? Oh my God. I know. Like my ovaries were like, oh, I'm trying to resist, but this is cute as fuck. Yeah, she was so cute. Yeah, and I loved, and also playing with the doll made it, kissing the boo-boo better.
Yeah.
With the doll made it into the show as well. So it was really cute that she wormed her way into my heart. And the show. So that was, again, that personal growth of that. Yes, so I can imagine. Because, you know, how many rehearsals has she been to?
In theatre spaces, about 5.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, and because how old is she now?
She just turned 3 in December.
Right, yes. So that's a lot in 3 years.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people sort of back away from the industry when they've had kids, but you've done really well at keeping still quite prolific, particularly on stage, which is even the most demanding, particularly helped by your fabulous man there, Maddie.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so supportive. And then you're supportive of him when he goes off to do things.
Yeah, so the reason why she's ended up in rooms with us is because he's also been booked on some mahi. So, it's if he's busy and cannot be at home holding it down, then we just go, okay, well then what do we need to do here? She needs to come with either me or you, and his were tours, so he couldn't take her, so it was like, okay.
Yeah, he was off to Hawaii at short notice, and I'm like, excuse me, he needs to stay at home so that my personal proclivities, like, oh God. As I said, I learned so much directing, but that one was, I feel, like a really good thing for me to experience because I haven't been around young. I find them much more entertaining when they get to about 6.
Yeah.
When they can hold down a conversation. My friend said, just treat them like little adults, just treat them like adults. And I was like, well, I'd like to have a conversation about who should be the leader of the Labour Party. But they weren't very interested. That's like, whatever. You can, anyway. But
I think you'll find half of most adults' eyes glaze over when you start to talk about politics as well.
Especially right fucking now, that's for sure. Anyway, I have a longer introduction for you now, so buckle in for that. So here we go. Bronwyn Turei, according to her Wikipedia page, was born and grew up in Gisborne, where she was the head prefect, which does not surprise me at all, at Gisborne Girls High School. She is also familiar with Dickens, making her stage debut as a workhouse boy in Oliver Twist, aged 9. Mm-hmm. She then studied drama at Unitec and also represented New Zealand on the trip to the Globe Theatre and is a self-confessed Shakespeare nerd. In 2006, she released an album on MySpace called, what was it called? Empty Room.
Yep.
Which is 2006. So 2006 is MySpace. Her big break in the traditional sense was being cast as Cody in Go Girls in 2009. Go Girls was a hit, running to 5 seasons and winning a New Zealand TV award for Best Drama in 2012. Her character, Cody, was the manager and owner of Easy Tune Auto Repairs, and she made lifelong diamond-hard friendships with her co-stars. Mm-hmm. Since then, she has appeared in Broken Wood Mysteries, The Gone, The Tender Trap, to name a few, but also been most prolific on stage. She calls herself a jack-of-all-trades, master of none kind of actress in a North Shore magazine, but that I heartily dispute that. But indeed has huge range, playing hokey panto characters, all the male parts in Rants in the Dark, Mrs. Jennings to Edward Dashwood in Sense and Sensibility, Nurse Jackie Manu in Shortland Street the Musical, which was ill-fated, but I fucking loved that. It was so funny.
It was really fun to do.
It was so funny, but it just had a very small target market. She's played Frida Kahlo's sister, Christina, in La Casa Azul, and more musicals and plays all over the country than you can shake a script at. Her favourite co-stars of all, though, are her cute-as-a-button daughter, Tiaki Wai, and her wonderfully supportive partner, Manny. But I have rabbited on for long enough, so I'll shut up. Please, again, go crazy and wild with applause for Bronwyn Turei. Yay!
Oh, my goodness. You forget half the things you've done, and then when this sort of thing happens, you go, oh, that's right.
I know, every single person practically that I've done this with goes, oh, Jesus, that is...
Yeah, a lifetime ago.
Yes, and do you like hearing all of that?
Yeah, I do, because I do tend to just move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and make those new memories. And those ones are still there, but they're just in dusty boxes at the back of my brains.
Right, absolutely. And, I think, it's testament to your skills and ability, and also ease of having in a rehearsal space, which I can speak to with personal, you're very supportive and you're very conscious of the collective, and also being very helpful, or to me as my first time as a director. So that will help in you continually getting employed, I think.
I mean, like anyone out there, it's active for hire.
Yes. Absolutely. And do you have do you prefer stage? In the very limited television stuff I've done, I found it tedious compared to stage. What about yourself?
I love both, but for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I do love the process of a theatre piece where you all start at the same entry point. You all get on the train at the same point, and that you move through the rehearsal process and the discoveries and the highs and the lows, and then you barrel towards the production week and opening night. And
production
then,
week sucks balls.
Oh my goodness. But
it's shit. I hadn't done a big one for so long. I usually have production day doing my solo shows.
Of course. But
Absolutely.
it's like that with every process. It really is.
I mean, you've been through so many production weeks.
Yeah. And I still run into myself every time at a certain point in it when I know I've prepared and I know I've done everything I can to make sure that week goes as well as it can. But I always run into myself because we're human, you know. But it's about sort of recognizing what those things are and just making sure that it doesn't leak out too much into the whole process, because we're all trying to like reach the same goal effectively.
Yeah, and people deal with their insecurities and stuff in very different ways.
Yeah.
In the rehearsal space, I found, and one thing that was very illuminating to me, and you have been a director as well, is that some of my previous behaviour in rehearsal spaces was not the best it could be. Like, it was really confronting, but yet personal growth, to realise that. So have you ever felt, when you started directing, or are you just ace all the time?
Oh no, completely terrified. The imposter syndrome is on full show.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to keep that down. But yeah, with the differences between screen and theatre for me, that whole, you get on the train at the pace that it's moving with everyone and you come to the end all together. With film and TV, the prep is different for different people at different times. You might be shooting out of chronological order. So it's about really having a grasp on the character that you're playing, the through line that you have, and then being prepared to mix it up and to find new things within those scenes that you have with those specific actors. So it's not like you build up this wonderful rapport technically all the time. You might just have to jump in and hit the ground running.
And I think muggles out there may not be aware that you do shoot out of chronological order, and can say that quite a lot. Yeah, and so you might be having, this emotional, huge, like really tragic thing, and then have to go into some happy thing that happens before that.
Yeah.
And that's quite hard to get your head around. So you have to be in that moment.
I just love the gear shift. I love that challenge of the gear shift.
Great.
To be able to go, I can do this. And then you just figure out how to safely navigate through that. Yeah.
Were you in 4 seasons of Go Girls?
Yes.
And then they recast it completely.
Yes.
How was that?
I grieved for a long time because we were such a big family, and I just had such a wonderful time working with like the cast and the crew. Between seasons when we weren't shooting, the cast were hanging out, and I would even babysit nanny for some of the crew members who had other jobs that they were on.
Oh, wow.
Which was really, really amazing because I got to watch their kids grow as well over those 4 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really special. So, to have that then just sort of end.
Even though the show didn't. Yeah, they completely recast, if you don't know, with a whole different group of people, but still called Go Girls. But with I can't even begin to imagine what that felt like.
But there was personal growth as well. I was still quite young and learning. So, it was a good thing to experience, I think. I don't necessarily look back on any of it with any sadness now, but because obviously a whole lifetime has passed since then. So, but at the time it was definitely a grief. It was a loss.
Were you 25 when you were cast? Is that...
I was 24 when we started shooting. I turned 25 in the first season.
Yeah, wow, that is very young. And did you think, wow, I've made it. This is it. I'm going to be on telly forever?
I was holding on for dear life and trying to keep my mouth shut as much as possible so that I wouldn't reveal that I was a fool.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it as well, we were surrounded by very skilled people who had been doing this for a long time, and the supporting cast that we had around us were like such legends. And then there was us young core cast members who... 2 of them Anna and Jay had been doing massive things since they were in their teens. So they were very well versed, and Alex and I were the green newbies. And so I just wanted to soak it all up. So I just spent a lot of the time quietly asking questions and just sort of observing and,
That must have been exciting as hell when you got that part.
It was. It really was.
And I guess, I don't want to be gauche, but that money would have been marvellous at that age.
Oh my goodness. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a wonderful thing.
Wonderful thing.
Yeah. And did you think you were destined for to just keep doing this TV thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it's we make plans and the universe laughs. It's
so entrenched into us that making it, you have to do that at a young age. And I've sort of realised now that I'm 51, I've still got heaps of time, not to play the ingenue, but to maybe write some more plays and direct some, if there's no finite time on making it, and also making it is not just becoming famous and blah, blah, blah. It's having you've had a sustained theatre career based on excellence for this length of time. Do you consider that you've made it?
I think that I'm grateful for every time that I get to do what I love. So I don't necessarily take it, I don't take stock of it enough, I don't think.
Right.
So I tend to just keep looking forward.
Because there's not many people that work as consistently as you, I would say, in theatres around the country, hired by someone else. Unlike me, who whores myself around everywhere and doesn't get hired at all. And I think that is impressive. There's actually, who else does that?
See, but in your production days, you don't have to argue with anyone.
This is very true.
Some silver linings.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It can get lonely, but yeah, man, the compromises are much less, much less, that is for sure. And you really pick your battles. You realise that something that you really want actually isn't that important when it's going to make someone feel shit about themselves. That was something to really sort of learn. But anyway, I'm going to get to my questions. Well, first of all, is this what you always wanted to do when you were younger?
Yeah, I've always joked that if I had split off into another timeline life, that I would be a musician.
Yes, because I read somewhere that you prefer singing to acting.
I don't think I necessarily prefer singing to acting, but I definitely enjoy the storytelling of my songs that I write.
Yes, which I didn't realise you had a MySpace career of album release. So how often do you writing songs quite a bit?
I haven't in a long time because I have been sort of...
raising a person?
Yeah, deep within the motherhood jam and also the theatre stuff. So, kind of took a little back seat, but it's been kind of bubbling back up to the surface recently.
Right, okay.
But yeah, when I was young, I think I ran through a whole bunch of things. Like I wanted to be a teacher for a while and I wanted to be a social worker and I just wanted to do stuff to help people.
That's the empathy in you. That makes sense.
But yeah, also the music and the theatre stuff. Like all through high school, I thought I was going to go and just do a BA in English because
that's what you did.
Yeah, that's what you did. But towards the end of high school, I was like, no, I really love this performing thing, whether it's with music or theatre. So that's what sort of. And the getting accepted to go to London experience was definitely a rubber stamp on that. It was like, okay, I'm going to follow this path and see where it takes me. But yeah, I always imagined that maybe I'd be in a band touring around with a lot more tattoos. So maybe Bronwyn in another timeline is doing exactly that.
Right, okay. Yeah, but yes, it seemed like looking at your trajectory, it feels like, yes, this is something you probably always wanted to do. So my big question that usually takes forever is how has your relationship been with your body and what journey has that been on? That's the very common noise that people make after that question.
Yeah. I think I've always really struggled with my body. I remember when I was doing shows when I was like 14 and stuff, there's this period where I look through the photo albums and I've cut my face out of all of the photos.
Oh my, you cut?
Yeah, I just cut my face out.
Honey.
Yeah, which, looking
your
back
beautiful face.
Such a thing that makes me so sad being a mum of a young girl now. It's
totally.
I really want to make sure that I do everything I can to bolster her self-esteem so that doesn't go down that path.
Far out.
Yeah, and I was very skinny, but I always thought I was very fat. And I feel like that's probably just a side effect of growing up in the 90s and everything in the media and the girlfriend magazines, the heroin chic, waif thin models. Yeah, it was hard you didn't have any curvy, wonderful role models.
No,
that you could see very often. They weren't very visible. They were there, but they weren't as visible as the onslaught.
And one thing I think about, being a younger woman in the early 2000s is that 2000s were terrible as well.
Yeah, they were. It was just a continuation of the 90s, really.
Yeah, and what gets me about it, and I've said this a few times, but Paris Hilton's boyfriend leaks their sex tape and she's the slut. Pamela Anderson's sex tape gets stolen, and then everyone just she's the slut. Yeah, exactly, and all of that, it was like we had the lad mags, the ladettes, go out, get drunk, fuck who you want, but oh my God, you're such a slut. That sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So when did you stop cutting your face out?
Oh, I think that was sort of a couple of years period. And it stopped, thank goodness. I would never smile in photos as well. I was kind of a weird tomboy as well during that time. I cut my hair real short and I wore like a baseball cap and oversized surf t-shirts and baggy shorts and yeah.
It was the 90s too that way. Grunge was the thing.
Yeah. So I kind of lent into that, I think. And then...
Did you have anybody giving you affirmations or...
Oh, look, Mum was great. She was always a very supportive mum in everything that we did and really positive and stuff. I mean, she was dealing with her own things. So I know that what I was going through wasn't a reflection of her not being 100% there.
And our mothers went through like, oh my God, all of that Jane Fonda, the 80s, all the exercise and jazzercise. And my mother went to Weight Watchers so often. Like, oh my God, Mum. So yeah, that gets into us as well.
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that there was a lot of things that you sort of, I actually had to go and see a chiropractor at the end of intermediate because I was so hunched over because I was crossing my arms in front of my chest. I had no boobies. Oh. But I would still, it was like a protection thing. And yeah, my posture started getting really terrible. So I had to go and see someone to correct it because I was that.
So you were just trying to hide your tits that weren't there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that sort of knocked on into, I mean, I was pretty flat-chested until I hit sort of, I don't know, fourth form or fifth form. And then they just sort of appeared overnight.
Wow.
Yeah. And my cousin's friends boys used to call me concave because I had nothing. Concave. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's an intelligent burn, I guess for a teenage boy.
Yes. My nickname in Form 2 was Big Tits.
Yeah.
Boys.
One
or the other, right?
Careful what you wish for, though, because then when they came in hot.
Yeah. They came in hot.
Yeah. They were there, taking up all the space.
Yeah. Yeah. And when did you decide that was good? Have you decided that is good?
Yeah.
Having a great rack?
Yeah.
So when did you decide that?
I think it's something that you sort of don't admit to yourself, but it's something that you sort of secretly think. You don't allow yourself to think it until you get to a certain age where you don't give a shit.
Yeah, I think I started doing comedy when I was 26 and it was always, because it'd been called Big Tits since I was 12. So that stuff gets in and then you just start to own it. But then, I remember once when I got edited right out of 7 Days. I was on that once. And I think it was, I can't remember, it may have been Ewan Gilmore, who was generally a very nice man, said that I'd talked about my tits too much.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, so I can get called Big Tits. I can see tits on billboards advertising beer, Wonder Bras, etc. But if I take ownership of them, then that's a bit full on and gross. Fuck off. Yeah. So how did puberty and stuff go in high school?
Yeah.
It happened, right?
Who'd want to do that? Yeah, it was all right. My mum wasn't very well growing up, and I love you, Mum. She was diagnosed with bipolar manic depression.
Right.
And
that's enormous.
Yeah. And so she ended up sort of in and out of our local hospital, but it wasn't really equipped for like pretty much
Gisborne.
Anyone that didn't have a physical ailment kind of just got put into this one ward. And she ended up so unwell that she had to go away to a psychiatric facility in a different city.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 11.
Oh, God.
She was only meant to be away for like 2 weeks, and it turned into 18 months.
Honey.
So when she came back, I was 13, I think. And
had you seen her?
We drove down once because it was in Dunedin. And so we drove from Gisborne to Dunedin one school holidays after she'd been there about a year, I think.
Okay. And were you living with your dad?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we got sort of shared around family members over that time. There was some of them that helped us out. And then we got sort of put into foster care situation for a little bit, mainly because my dad was a truck driver and he was working like crazy hours.
This is all very intense for somebody that age. Yeah. I mean, like, that is crazy. And, like, how do you think that's affected you going forward?
Well, I ended up getting my period while Mum was away. And so I was sort of... And because Dad, bless his heart, is a stoic Māori man, very kind, but also not great at that point with the talking about things or emotional stuff. And he was having a hard time of it too, with Mum being away and being sort of soloing Dad.
I've been the partner of somebody with mental health issues, and that's really hard.
Yeah, so he was doing his best. And so I had to come home and tell Dad that day. I came home from high school and I was just like, I stood in the kitchen and went, hey, Dad, got my period today. And he went, oh, that's good. Your mum will be happy. We just kind of stood there looking at each other. And then he went, do you need stuff?
I need stuffing.
And I was like, oh, my mum kind of left a bit of a stash before she went, like, just, this is here.
And you knew all about it?
Sort of, yeah.
Good.
And then my mum's sister, my auntie, came over in about, like 20 minutes later with a grocery bag of stuff as well.
Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah, so he must have rung her and been like, help.
Which is, he might not be equipped, but he knows who to ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right, okay. Right, okay. God, that's all massive. And then, getting on television quite young, how did that affect how you felt about yourself?
Wow, that whole thing was different in itself because I'd been kind of battling with my weight since I was very thin, very sort of gangly and stuff up until about 7th form. And then I sort of put on a bunch of weight. And
for any reason?
Yeah. So when I was 16, I was sexually assaulted.
Oh my God.
By 2 guys in the back of a car and then thrown out of the moving car.
Shit.
Yeah, and talk about this like it happened to someone else. And then, so my self-esteem kind of physically went very down, but on the front surface I was doing, writing music for my band and we were doing really well and I was hiding a lot. I was doing a lot of therapy through my lyrics. People don't know that because a lot of the songs are like upbeat sounding, but the lyrics were pretty dark. I think, it sort of got a bit heavy. I was still doing theatre productions as well, and I think that escape was really important for me.
Did you report it, or was that...
No. No, I did not.
No, I mean, 16...
Well, because Mum was also back in and out of hospital. She actually attempted suicide at home 2 weeks after this happened, and we had to call the ambulance and stuff to come get her because she was fitting and Dad was trying to stop her from swallowing her tongue. Yeah, so there was a lot going on.
Christ, lady. Fucking hell. I'm amazed you're conscious and talking, and there's so much trauma to deal with as a young person.
Yeah, so I think that's probably why the weight gain started happening in 7th form and then tipped over into going to uni and stuff. I got quite heavy and I was sort of battling yo-yoing with not eating, doing that thing where you just have a cigarette and a coffee or for a lunch.
At uni here?
At uni, yeah. Right. As you all do. And tended to be cast as the older women, the grounded, the mothers, those sort of things. Mm-hmm. I guess because of everything that I'd been through, it gave me a certain understanding of things. Not to say that the other women in our class didn't, but, there was very few roles for...
Yep.
Really amazing. We all had a strong contingent of women in our class. And
okay, great.
It was such an uphill battle to get pieces that really showcased all of us. But we did, and we're really proud of that. But yeah, when I got Go Girls, it was for a character that was technically, visually for screen, overweight. And
right, yeah, I thought that might be the case, but I wasn't sure to ask that. Right, okay.
Yeah, so that was the whole premise.
Right,
that was the point of Cody's storyline.
So because I know I auditioned for a part, it was to do gymnastics on a beam, and the ad was for reinforced wood.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. And also for a part that was a ballroom dancing nurse that Elle Dabrowski did not want to dance with because she's too fat. And so getting those briefs are a lot. So then how was that for you to then, I mean, you got that role, but was there some sort of bittersweet thing about it, or were you just happy?
I just feel like I kind of leant into it. And, when you take the sting out of that situation that could be potentially sort of harming, I was just sort of like, yeah, she's the fat chick. She's the designated fat friend. Because there was a lot of things within that storyline where she was involved in what was called a hog pull, which was basically rugby players betting that if they could get the fat girl to go home with them, they won whatever pool of money was.
Oh, yeah. My God.
Oh, look, my character got to punch the guy in the face.
Still. I mean, like in Nothing Trivial, there was like, Blair's character was called a chubby chaser. So again, I just don't think that, none of that would be in a show now, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. But it was...
Oh my God, I can't, it actually makes me angry. Were you angry when you read that?
I was, but at the same time I was
living this money.
Well, I was just living this really grateful life. And so I thought, well, if this is something that has been keeping me small for so long, and now I can actually own it and use it and tell this story and have people see themselves like me, because before that there wasn't a lot of young women that were curvy on screen, and so I felt really proud to be representing.
It's so hard, isn't it? Because that is so great, but then you still have a little bit of like, what the fuck is this hog pull nonsense? Did you lean into cream cakes and sausage rolls?
Well, I ended up, so we were able to go up into the offices and read the storyline props for the seasons ahead, for the episodes ahead, and there was one that had Cody re-trying on her wedding dress that was far too small for her at the start. In the first episode, she's trying on this wedding dress and it rips because she's trying to zip it up and she's not fitting into it, spilling out everywhere. And then by about 10 episodes in, she's trying it on again and it's swimming on her.
Oh, wow.
And then I got really nervous because I was like, am I supposed to be losing weight? And it wasn't something that the production specifically, they did not ask for that at all.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah.
Because, I've been trying to do this, bitches, for quite some time. So,
but what we did end up doing was organising a nutritionist, and I went and met with her, and she said, look, if this is the path that you want to go down, this is my healthy recommendations. And so on set, I got like special lunches made. Yeah, I stuck to just purely eating because we weren't able to, with the hours that we were doing, we weren't able to go to the gym or anything like that.
Wow. So this is so crazy because this is great. But yet again, you feel like you've got your special lunch. Like, I don't know. It's like Judy Garland that wasn't allowed to eat whatever, and Mickey Rooney could eat whatever he wanted, and they did movies together and stuff. But you wanted this?
It was my choice. Yeah. Because I felt like it was her character journey. I was still curvy. I was still me.
But did you lose a lot of weight?
I did in a very short amount of time.
Did that stay off?
Not really, no. It all came back on again because I wasn't going to keep staying on those lunches.
No, that somebody else was providing. I remember my parents offered to pay for me to go on Jenny Craig when I was 17. And a lot of people were like, oh, God. But I was like, yay, great. The pictures of me. This is one picture of me when I'm at because I started taking medication that made me add, but I didn't know it was that. So there's this picture of me I just look so miserable. And so to have that offered to me as a lifeline to try and I only lost like 4 kilos in 6 months on Jenny Craig because I was always hungry. But yeah, I was very grateful for that offer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, so then what was the trajectory of the body of the character over that 4 years that you were on there, or 5 years?
Well, look, I mean, honestly, it bounced back up again and it went down, as we all do. So, yeah, I was really lucky to have a team of, like, the wardrobe and such great conversations with them that I wore things that I felt confident in, that I felt good in. So they were really proactive in making sure that we dressed my body.
Yes, because I'm someone, I've had these hang-ups, therefore, as a result, forever. And whenever I've gone, when I get a costume made for my theatre show, I'm in full control. It's usually a corset, tits popping, waist tiny, let's go. But when I've gone into like a television one, I'm always kind of a bit terrified of what they're going to put me in. Like on Shortland Street, I had this top and I hated it. And I just looked like a tit monster, and I was like, I wish that I could have a bit more control over that. So do you feel like that whenever you go into a new tele space, or do you just trust everybody?
I mean, I definitely trust everyone, but I mean, at the same time, the chats that you have within that space I'm finding that the women that are in charge of dressing you really want you to feel.
Yeah. And I have felt like
at
that
your
too.
Peak.
Less so on Shortland Street, but most other things, absolutely. Right, okay. So then once that finished, what happened then?
The Girls. I ended up doing Little Shop of Horrors with ATC.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Were you one of the Ronettes?
I was.
Right,
yeah.
okay, I can see that.
Me, Bella Kalolo, and Rosetta Vai.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Did you have not to say that you're not marvellous, was there a little touch of imposter syndrome going on there?
Oh my lord!
Yeah.
There was such a massive amount of imposter syndrome because
The winner of New Zealand Idol.
yeah,
like this
like
incredibly
legend, New Zealand legend, and Bronwyn.
And did you smash it?
We did.
Yes.
We did. And the cool part was that because I came from the singer-songwriter background, I hadn't really done any full belty musical theatre singing. I'd done some stuff.
Right.
But I wouldn't have said that was my strength because I hadn't really flexed that muscle enough yet.
Right.
But working with those two was just dreamy. And Jason Temete was our musical director for that. And he was just so fluid in the way that we didn't delineate parts necessarily. Like, we're like, okay, we'll go, you do that low melody, high.
Right, okay.
But then there were some days where we would come to work and go, oh, I'm not actually feeling that I can hit those ones. Can we switch? And we would just switch.
Amazing.
On the day.
I'm so very jealous of that because I've done solos for so long that the harmonising of my voice is the thing that I've just signed up for a choir to try and flex that a bit more because we did backing vocals in Sense Sensibility and I was joining in and then I just kept fucking it up. So I was like, I'm going to shut up now. Because Michael, who was the guy doing the music for us, was, Bronwyn, you're going to be the grounding voice in this sort of thing. And I was like, yeah, and I'll just shut up. So obviously that's that was done you well.
Very funny riding on a broom horse gallantly to the sound of my own voice in 4-part harmony singing.
It was fucking marvellous.
Holding out for a hero.
That was my favourite bit, I think. And then also the firework montage as well.
Yeah.
If you didn't see our show, it was hilarious and you missed out. Right, okay, that's amazing. Here on Skid Row.
It was such a brilliant time.
And I love that musical. That musical was marvellous. Right, okay. And then what about your acceptance of your fabulous self?
Huh? So what now?
The fleshy parts of yourself, so still battling with that.
Yes and no.
Right.
Like, I think ever since, this is probably something that every mum says, but ever since having my baby, during that pregnancy, I was the most zen version of I'm quite a highly strung human being. It doesn't look like it. I know. I hide it really well.
I don't think of you as highly strung. No, I think of you as busy.
Yes. Okay, cool. Then, yep, that's what I am. I'm busy. So busy. But yeah, just it's very loud in my head a lot of the time. And
snaps.
Some of it's good, some of it's bad.
Snap.
And I've definitely become more of a friend with... So my best friend runs a fitness community called Shadow Camp, and they refer to that voice, that ego, as the she.
Oh, okay.
And so I've definitely made friends with my she. I know when she's protecting me and I know when she's not really welcome.
Yes, because apparently imposter syndrome is wired into us as part of evolution for trying not to die.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy.
It is helpful in some spaces and unhelpful in others, and it's just about being able to delineate the two. But I definitely respected my body so much more because of what it was doing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, because I hated my stomach, my entire life I've hated it. And then when it housed a small human, I was just like, damn, this is awesome. My body can do such amazing things, and I've done it such a disservice by hating on it for so long. So
we all do.
Yeah.
We all do. And did Manny help with your self-acceptance as well?
Oh, yeah. He's absolutely brilliant.
He is delightful.
He's best,
so nice.
He's the best human in the world, and he makes me feel beautiful every day, even when I do not feel it.
Oh, yes, that's my husband's a bit like that. So how did you meet?
We actually met at Circa Theatre.
Oh, my God. It's like I'm there a lot, but you're there a lot. Right.
Well, look, where else was I going to find the one?
Oh, my God, that's hilarious. What, and doing a show together?
Yes, so it was Peter Pan, the pantomime.
Who were you?
I played multi-roles, surprise, surprise. So I was Xena Lily, Eco-Warrior Princess.
Marvellous.
Our take on Tiger Lily. And I was Mrs. Darling. And I was Tinkerbell.
Oh, I was going to say, were you Tinkerbell?
Yes.
And who was he?
He played one of the Lost Boys.
Okay. And then you found him.
Yes. No, actually, we were both just good friends during that time. We were both in relationships.
Oh.
And it was, I think, his relationship ended during that time or not long after that. And we helped each other through some hard stuff. I was still happily in a relationship, and then it wasn't until mid-year, the next year, that relationship ended.
Right.
And he was just there. He was just such a good friend. And
had you ever felt like that before but sort of suppressed it? Or?
No.
Right?
No.
Right, okay.
And
then suddenly he was there and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, it was kind of, all of a sudden, it just kind of became quite clear.
And had you always wanted to be a mother?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I didn't know how or when, and I had this weird arbitrary clock in my head, and I think that's maybe the 90s and early 2000s as well, that was just banging on about geriatric mothers and whatnot.
Were you defined as a geriatric pendant?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I was 38 when I gave birth, so I was basically 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah, yeah. That's so. In Jane Austen times, definitely.
Yes.
And I know we have briefly discussed this, and everybody does this. Do you think you want to have another one?
So we've talked about it.
Yeah.
And man, it's so, basically it comes down to us and our lifestyle, really, because we pack our car up and we drive up and down the country depending on where the work is, or we, go off on tours and things. We pack our cat as well. He comes with us to Wellington. He's a very good traveller.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does he have a leash?
Nah.
Oh, he just stays.
Yeah, we've got a cat cage that he sits in, but we have the door open and he comes out and sits in our laps and then curls up and goes back to sleep. And
oh my God, whereas any cat we had went wow, wow, and they thought of that for 8 hours. Yes, and so fitting another child in there would be difficult.
Yeah, I think you're always scared of the unknown because it's unknown until you do it, and then you realise it's not that crazy.
I'm terrified of children and will never have one, so...
But no, it's been a conversation on the table, and she's now going to kindy, and she's sort of really understanding a lot more. She's calling everyone at kindy her brothers and sisters, which is a new thing. It's very, very cute.
So what happened with your feeling about yourself from Little Shop of Horrors to 2017? What was the trajectory along that time?
Well, I ended up going and doing a lot of gigs with the amazing crew down in Rotorua with the Blue Baths. So there was a lot of those corporate performances where Joe Romaines was running the Blue Baths at that time, and Darlene Mahiki was the artistic director. And so she would just gather groups of us together and we would learn stuff, or we'd learn songs by ourselves, and then we'd bring it together and put it all together in about a day and a half.
Great.
We used to call it Fast and Fierce.
A day and a half? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a period of not working?
So
you can't think. That's amazing.
Oh, no, I definitely did have periods where I was nannying and house cleaning.
Right.
And dreaming about the day that I'd get to do another show again.
Right. So that Blue Bath stuff really just gave you this whole new foundation of things in your kite, as you said, to pull out. Right,
absolutely.
Okay.
That was such great freedom within that.
Exactly.
Because Darlene trusted all of us just to go mental and just go right to the edges, and then we can always pull it back.
Yeah, great.
And we never did.
Right.
It was full noise the whole time, and it was so wonderful, and everyone was so talented. So you had these sort of pinch me moments when you're singing and kind of going this is my job.
Yeah.
This is so good. There's other times where you literally look at yourself dressed up like a crazy person and you go, This is my job. This is my life. I'm a singing sheep. Yep, cool.
Yeah, totally. I know, but one thing I realised a while ago is that I do comedy shows and I marry people. I do love and laughter, and that's my job, which is pretty delightful.
Yeah.
When it comes down, we're in the business of moving people. And, that thing about Sense Sensibility is I'm never going to write intense shows about really, you can have beautiful moments, and there were some beautiful moments of truth.
Yeah.
And that's what we really wanted to do with that, particularly with Edward and Eleanor, just have those really beautiful, and actually Willoughby is kind of like a sexy cartoon, but we worked on having those moments to show he was actually vulnerable.
Yeah.
And also a victim of the patriarchy, not quite to the same extent as the ladies, but yet, he ended up in a shit marriage because of all of that. But, I want to uplift people, and the joy that people felt in that show was amazing.
Yeah.
Those squeals at the end.
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
It was goosebump moments.
Right.
Because you know that you're going to take them on this journey. So it's that excitement in the moment before where you just know that everyone's going to be with you.
When you rip your shirt open and you have a fake chest and everyone screams with love, which we have to thank the Christchurch production for. They came up with that idea and I was like, I'll be having that. Yep. Yes, because the Court Theatre did it first and then I directed it. And and knowing that you're about to come out riding a broom.
Oh, career highlight.
Oh, good! That makes me very happy. Look at that.
Playing with my open shirt and my fake six-pack literally like half a metre away from an audience member just every night was just wonderful. Just eyeballing people as well. Breaking that fourth wall is such
I love that when we came up with that. As it was like, point at ladies, wink at ladies, it was so much fun.
It really was.
I mean, I was jealous of you doing it. And the comments on Facebook were amazing. And you brought that to life and then you won an award.
Yeah.
So have you made peace with your body as the vehicle that brings this much joy and happiness to other people?
Yes.
Good. When did that happen?
I think it was basically sort of after I had Bubba. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was now falling in love with me.
Pumping milk out your breasts.
Well, I was just amazed because we also had quite a tough birth and I ended up in hospital again 2 weeks later with retained placenta. I started bleeding out in the middle of the night.
Jesus Christ, lady, you just don't like to do anything.
I don't do anything but halves.
No. Fucking hell, so was it touch and go or something?
Yeah, well, I ended up passing out in the emergency waiting room, but it was during COVID, so Manny and Bubba, 2-week-old Bubba, had to stay out in the car park for like a couple of hours and she was just screaming the whole time.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and then once I'd had some IV fluids in both arms and a...
DNC?
Well, that didn't happen for a couple of days because this was literally New Year's Day that it happened. So she was born on the 19th and then on the 1st we were just getting ready to go to bed and... I just kind of started bleeding and then I ended up going through like 3 massive pads and then all we had left was like adult diapers and I put those on. But this was, and so I kind of texted my midwife and she rang back and she said, this is a call, not a text. You ring the ambulance right now. And I was like, oh no, Manny can drive me. And she was like, well, if he starts freaking out because you pass out in the back seat. And I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. We're 14 minutes away from the hospital. But I actually started getting pretty funky in the back seat with Bubba and then I bled through that and my pants and we sort of got into the hospital and they said, sorry, baby and partner can't come in because of COVID restrictions. And then I was just sort of waiting and I ended up sort of passing out. They put me on a bed and then I was taken into ED. And
were you sitting down when you passed out?
No, I was standing at the counter still.
Did you hurt your head?
No, I sort of just... elegantly crumpled to the floor.
It was very elegant.
So it's the one time in my life that I've actually been elegant.
It was like when I had my seizure in high school assembly, my first epileptic fit, and I was like, my first thing was, oh my God, did I lose control of my bodily functions?
Oh yeah.
Did I shit myself in school assembly? Oh my God. And I passed out with COVID. But my mother caught me both.
Oh, that's
times.
right.
Very Bronte is how I describe that. Wow.
Yeah, so because it was short-staffed, they were, over that period, mine wasn't an urgent surgery, so I was booked in a couple of days later, but I just had to stay in for a few days. And so, I had Bubs in there with me.
Oh, you did, right, because you need to feed her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it was massive on Manny too, because he was a new dad and we weren't doing formula, we were just doing booby milk. And when I had to have the operation, she was just screaming out for her beads and he got quite overwhelmed, poor thing, and had to go for a walk around the lake just outside the North Shore Hospital. And as soon as I came to, the nurse handed me Bubba and my phone and it was Manny on the other end and he was crying and he was like, I'm just so sorry, I just needed to get outside and go for a walk because I don't know what I'm doing and I feel like I'm letting you down. And I was like, no, it's fine. It was as groggy as, that's fine, darling.
I'm getting tears in my eyes. He's sweet.
He is very sweet. He's such a good dad.
That must have been terrifying for him.
Yeah. He wasn't really sure what was going on. Neither was I. Yeah, we got through that and then we got to get on with our lives after that. But that's when I sort of, really just started laying off on the self-deprecating things and trying to send better love to my body because it needed to heal.
And you want to be the role model for Te Aki Wai around that as well. Yeah, and I'm always like, aren't you gorgeous and clever?
Yeah.
Just trying to do that the whole time. I remember once I was talking to my husband and I was like, oh, my brain, stupid brain, like thinking too much. And he was like, your brain's amazing. And I was like, that was so much better to me than you're so beautiful, which he also says, which is very nice. But, that actually I was like, oh, That's really nice. You know, that we have that within us, etc. And so that's good that you're going to embody that for her.
Yeah, and we started working out once I was allowed to, about 6 months afterwards. And yeah, it just changed the way that we were able to function because we were, you know, getting those good endorphins. We were feeling better in ourselves. And
so you're working out together?
Yeah.
Right. Do you still do that?
Yeah.
You post many stories of your workouts.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, look, she's working
just
out
to keep myself accountable, because I do go, like, especially when I go into shows, I find it harder to keep that up.
Of course.
And the shows become my workout, which is not necessarily the best, because I forget that I'm a lot older than I was when I used to throw myself around the place. And when you go hundy and then you go, oh, I've got to keep this up for a full month.
2 months.
2 months for the whole process. Yeah, and you're like...
Well, 3 months, including rehearsal. Yes. I mean, that's why... But it was funny, actually, me directing, I lost a lot of weight.
Well, you were stressing,
I was stressed. And I got like a rash on my face. Yes, I was quite stressed. But when I'm doing... And it's so funny going back to doing... It's like, oh, thank God, I'm just doing 24 of my own shows that go for an hour and a half.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Yeah, and that is definitely a workout. Oh my God, especially the tempestuous. It's almost like doctor theatre that people say when you're ill and you perform, you feel better, but like you don't sort of notice the pains until after you finished.
Oh, everything goes away when you get on that stage.
Yeah.
And then you come off and you're practically limping or...
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm notoriously accident prone. So... Oh, look, I'll trip over on flat ground. It is, yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And I've always rolled my ankles my entire life, so they are weak as. And so during the panto, I rolled my ankle. I fell down the stairs at the end of the show in one of the performances and fell on my butt in a moment where Jathan and I are meant to be singing this glorious high note, and I just sang it from the ground. Because you can't take away the fact that 220 people have just seen you cake it. Yeah. And you just kind of lean into the comedy.
And then they love you even more.
Yeah, but that's like, you don't want people to be worried about you. So you're just like, I'm fine. And then you get off stage and die.
Yeah, I fully fell off quite a high stage in the Canterbury Festival in the UK. They didn't put white tape on the edge of the stage. It was a Spiegel tent. And I've never experienced this before. I just stepped and there was nothing. Like, and the shop, and I proper screamed. I went, and happily, actually, there were road cases. So I sort of went like a pinball, and then fell down. But if there'd been nothing, it would have been much worse. Yeah, it would have been much worse. Massive scream. You can practically hear the whole audience go, and then just like this. And then I just started laughing because, I've just done. I was like, and then they all like laugh. And then I get up and then I made jokes about it constantly through the rest of the thing that got these massive laughs. But then I got off stage and then I started limping. And then I had a gigantic bruise because I have low platelets anyway and my whole ass was black, basically. So that was exciting. Yeah, so you have to do that. Do you think, this is an invasive question, so tell me to fuck off, but those traumas that you went through, how has that affected you with your body, or just your brain is your body? Like, going forward, have you made peace with those things?
I definitely feel like they are integral to how I move through the world now, who I am now, how my friendships connect me to people, what deep conversations I've had with those close, So I wouldn't change those things. So I guess in that sense, I've accepted them in. A lot of stuff, though, you do tend to really distance yourself from, and I might need a lot of therapy, who knows. But
have you ever had therapy?
Pockets of. Probably not nearly enough.
I ponder that for my imposter syndrome, and I'm so competitive and jealous. That's what I have.
And it's an industry geared towards making women feel like that inherently anyway. So it's not like you've just sort of decided one day to feel those things. But yeah, I like who I am. Well,
I will endorse this decision because I also like who you are. Honestly, you were a real godsend to me in rehearsal space. So know that about yourself, right?
Yeah, and it's hard because if you turn around and say, "Oh well, I would take this out or I would change this," then the knock-on effect is that you won't be the fully formed, sometimes gammy human being that I am.
That trips over a lot. Okay, great. Do you have a favourite body part?
Manny told me that he listed a lot of things that I should say, but they're his favourite things. I think...
See, he's even involved in this. How delightful.
I would say probably my boobs.
Your boobs?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I've always liked them. Mm-hmm. And then when they got to feed my daughter, they just became another really cool thing.
Did they swing lower after that?
No.
Oh, look at you!
No.
I think you're the first person that's ever said that. Well, you're doing a lot of chest presses.
Yeah. Trying to keep these ladies perky.
Yeah.
And
did Manny also mention those?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
He also said my butt.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think my husband talks about that as well. Right, lovely.
I quite like that too because I find that it's strong.
Yeah.
I do all my squats, but also I feel really strong. So that's the main thing.
Yeah.
I like to feel strong, so that's what I like.
This is also good for bone density getting older.
Yeah, yep. And also muscle. Muscle is what we need past 40 because that's your body is running on the good hormones that are coming from all the muscle. Mm-hmm. My teeth.
You do have excellent teeth.
I like my teeth.
Did you have braces?
No.
My word! They're so straight.
So I was lucky in that area. So that's the universe just giving me like a little, hey, you know what? There was all this other trauma, but you can have good teeth.
Yeah.
I've never had a filling either.
Oh my God.
Never had a cavity.
I am similar, but I have. I've probably had 4 or 5, but I've been to the dentist once in 20 years. Because I never go because it doesn't ever get a toothache. So, why would I go and spend all that money? And apparently when you get to menopause, you should go more often. But yeah, I went for the first time in 10 years and needed nothing. And my friend was like, fuck you. Fuck you. But yes, you do have excellent. You've got nice lips too, I would say.
Oh,
sounds a bit weird, but they're very, they go with your teeth.
Yeah. Oh, good pairing.
Excellent. So now what do you have to plug?
So just last night on Whakaata Māori on Māori Plus TV is End of the Valley. And we shot that a couple of years ago.
Wow.
And it is all 6 episodes are out now to watch.
Are they in today?
Yeah, parts of it are.
Right.
Yeah, but there's obviously captions and stuff. But it's a stellar cast of amazing performers and I felt very lucky to jump in on that kaupapa and that mahi. That's just come out. Also, I'm about to start rehearsals for a new musical at Circa Theatre called Give Way.
Yes, and what is this about?
So it's written by an Invercargill writer, Stephen Page, and he did an excellent job. It's very funny. It is about the 2012 saga of the changing of the give way rule, the turning left rule.
Which is such a crazy thing to write a musical about.
I mean,
Does it have some locals that are very much against it?
That's who I'll be playing. Amongst other roles. I'm playing lots of multi-rolling in this.
Great. What do you enjoy?
It's and Jackie Coates is directing. Hayden Taylor is musical director.
I was so against it. I would have been your Deirdre from Invercargill against it. I almost feel like we don't need to explain this to the rest of the world because it's kind of tedious, apart from the musical, which won't be. But I was like, it's harder to turn right, so I like the way it is. And then as soon as it changed, I was like, this is so much better. I was wrong. I'll happily admit it. Anyway,
yes, right. So it's a wonderful cast of people. It's going to be ridiculously funny.
And I just hope it will sell the tricky thing. Like I've spent the last 12 years of my career doing stuff that's based on stuff that people know, and it sells, like Jane Austen sells. It's called derivative, etc. So launching a brand new musical, a brand new concept is so brave.
Yeah. Because
people are so much less prepared to trust it, etc.
Yeah.
So I love that it's funny because then that will help and people... The world is a bin fire. It makes me think of Smashing Pumpkins. The world is a bin fire. Because it is. And we just need uplifting shit, which sounds like this is. And ultimately a well-constructed transport idea. Right, okay, well, I
love that you think that the lyrics are the world is a bin fire.
I know it's the world is a vampire. But I've changed it to the world is a bin fire because it just is like, fuck, let's not even talk about that. One thing we haven't talked about, and I feel like we should touch on, and I don't want to make it like this is like an afterthought that was a token thing, but I should have asked it earlier. But, you are tangata whenua, te reo is important to you, etc. So how has that played into your bodily journey?
I think I struggled for a long time because obviously we come from a mixed family. My mum is very Irish.
Oh, right.
77% to be exact,
Oh,
on
right.
Ancestry.com.
Yes.
And my dad is Ngāti Porou, and we grew up with both. So we would sort of go up the coast and spend time at my nanny's place and run around with the cousins all day, play at the creek. And there wasn't a lot of te reo because it had been pushed out during my dad's schooling time. But there was still parts used, so we understood a lot of stuff. But at school it was hard. There was a lot of bullying and sort of half-caste, dirty ass sort of things.
Oh, God.
And yeah, it was very weird. I wasn't Māori enough.
Oh.
And I wasn't white enough. It just always felt like you sort of you walked in both worlds but didn't belong to either, depending on which group that you were with. And I think that over the years I've been kind of really wanting to lean in and find out more, and been doing it in little bursts. And then when Bubs was born, and obviously I sort of had to be close for the first year, I ended up doing a couple of courses online, te reo courses with Hemi Kelly.
Great.
And it was so good. It was brilliant because it felt like I kind of got to tap into a deeper understanding of my subconscious that I hadn't really been able to until that point. You lose it really fast if you don't use it all the time. So it's trying to get myself into spaces or do jobs where I have to speak more te reo and just keep that part of a daily practice.
And it's fantastic that you're getting voice jobs with it.
Yeah. And also at home we've got quite a few te reo books for Bubba, and so we try and practice by, you find new words and then I look it up on my Te Aka app.
Yes, I've used that.
The meaning or, how to pronounce it and stuff, because I do come across some te reo kupu that are ones that I haven't heard before.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So it's weaving its way further and further into your life.
I would love to do the full immersion te reo course.
Right.
And I'm suitably terrified. So it's just getting over that fear and just doing it.
Yeah, because you feel that if you get it wrong, you're being disrespectful, but yet most people that I've interacted to around that are just so welcoming and stuff. Because it's what makes us unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, I think we've rabbited on enough. Okay. Anything else you want to say about your body? Anything else?
There was another question on there that you sent, the fun fact.
Oh, fun fact, of course. How stupid of me. Yes, what is your fun fact?
Well, I dug through the cobwebbed boxes of my mind. I thought, well, this is a story. I was flown to Shanghai for a blind date.
What? This is a good story. Was this some sort of Chinese millionaire?
No, God no. It was back when a New Zealand women's magazine were trying to change up their tourism section. So they were reaching out to familiar faces on TV to see if they would be willing to be sent somewhere to experience a place and do something crazy and write a story about it.
Right.
So me and a rep from the magazine and a photographer, the three of us went over to Shanghai, and there was a bunch of things that we did, but I was sent on a blind date with I think I was about 28 at the time, and he was a 40-year-old German man called Gunther, who was there teaching English.
Wow, they are good. And was he schön? Was he attractive? Nein.
I don't think either of us would have paid each other much mind in normal circumstances.
Wowzers.
But we were at the M on the Bund, which is this beautiful restaurant right next to the Bund, the big river that runs through there. And we had this beautiful dinner. And at that time, I was quite a good drinker. And
whereas
so
now you're practically teetotal.
practically angelic.
Yes.
But he was trying to keep up with me drink for drink, I think. And by the time we had dessert, he was sort of face down in his plate. We'd already eaten dessert, and then he ordered again as though he hadn't had dessert yet.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And I was like, okay, yeah. So he got another one, and then he said, let's go meet my friends at this club. And I was like, yeah, cool. So we went to this place called, I think it was called Brown Sugar or something, and it was an amazing club. And there was an awesome band from Mauritius playing, and they were doing covers, and they were just fantastic. And I met his work friends, a lovely Italian guy and a Kiwi woman who actually recognised me, and her and her daughter would watch Go Girls together. So that was a really lovely connection. And then after we'd been dancing and stuff for a while, so I realised that Gunter was missing. And so I asked his friends where, and they said, I said, has he gone to the toilet? And they were like, no, he's gone home. So I got ditched on our blind date in the middle of Shanghai. I know no one. I have the card for my hotel and the phone numbers for the photographer and the production assistant, but that's about it. So, but then funnily enough, we just decided to carry on enjoying the night.
Yeah.
And I was singing sort of harmonies from the crowd, and the lead singer heard me and he invited me up on stage. And I ended up singing with them for the rest of the night, chucking in harmonies to what they were playing.
Do you remember what you sang?
A bunch of stuff. And then we all went backstage afterwards, and then they actually offered me a job. They handed me a card and said, hey, look, if you're interested, we're touring the world if you want to join us. And I was
God!
I think this is really lovely. But
I'm on a television show in New Zealand. I'm very famous.
I can't, but thank you. It was really lovely. They were awesome. I just can't believe that all still happened.
Yeah, well. Okay. Well, I mean, we've rabbited on for quite some time. So I feel like we should stop that now.
Yeah.
But yes, well, thank you very much. Good luck with Give Way the musical.
Thank you.
I hope it goes exceptionally well, and Circa has a very special place in my heart. It's an incredibly supportive place to make theatre. It's an incredibly affordable place to make theatre. And Wellington is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like 5,500 people saw our show, and then 2,000 people saw my show.
Yeah.
Wellington's nuts. Thanks, Wellington. And thank you very much, Bronwyn Turei.
Thank you.